Looking for a fast-charging, ultra-responsive stylus for your iPad? Meet the 2X Fast Charge Active Stylus Pen, designed for 2018 to 2025 Apple iPads. Take your creativity and productivity to the next level. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
Imagine you're sipping a cup of coffee in a bustling cafe, when suddenly, you hear whispers about China's latest move in the global oil market. It seems that China has been quietly buying 2.7 million tons of crude from Indonesia, a staggering amount that raises more questions than answers. Kryna here to break down what this means and why it matters. So, let's dive into the story. Indonesia is known as Southeast Asia's largest economy, but ironically, it's also a net oil importer. This means it needs to purchase crude from abroad to meet its domestic demand. Now, China, on the other hand, has been one of the biggest buyers of Iranian oil in recent years. However, according to customs data, Indonesia is now serving as an unexpected source of supply. But here's the thing, Indonesia doesn't have a significant oil production capacity to back up these claims. In fact, its output is only around 580,000 barrels per day, which barely covers its own demand. So, how did China manage to secure such large volumes from Indonesia? Well, it all comes down to ship tracking data and vessel tracking records. It appears that at least 4 vessels, including the Aquarius and Pola, have been involved in this trade. These ships reportedly pause at Indonesian ports like Kabul on Batam Island near Singapore, receive cargoes linked to Iranian supply, and then sail onward to Chinese ports like Qingdao, Dalian, and Rizhao. The draft readings and discharge records suggest that the oil they carried was not Indonesian in origin, but rather rebranded elsewhere before reaching Chinese buyers. Now, you might be wondering why this trade is happening in the first place. Well, China's energy security strategy plays a significant role here. Tehran needs to sell its oil to withstand U.S. sanctions, while Beijing secures discounted crude supplies at a time of heightened energy insecurity. But what about Indonesia? Why are they getting involved in this complex web of trade? The answer lies in geography and geopolitics. Malaysia used to be the main staging hub for these operations, but now it seems that Indonesia is taking on that role. The sudden rise in Chinese imports from Indonesia coincides with a sharp decline in declared flows from Malaysia. This timing reinforces suspicions that Indonesia is indeed serving as another link in the same rerouting chain. The implications of this story are clear. China's trade with Iran remains opaque, relying heavily on shadow fleets, ship-to-ship transfers, and shifting identities of cargoes. Even when specific tankers, ports, and terminals are sanctioned, the adaptability of maritime operators allows the trade to continue with only superficial alterations. As Kryna, I'd like to emphasize that this story highlights both the ingenuity of operators in sustaining flows that officially don't exist and the limits of sanctions enforcement. The involvement of Indonesia adds a new layer of complexity to global monitoring, as it stretches credibility, but nonetheless appears in official customs statistics. So, what does this mean for the future? Will this rerouting through Indonesia become a permanent fixture or a temporary adaptation? Only time will tell. One thing is certain, though, China's sudden surge in Indonesian crude imports is not rooted in geology or production capacity, but in geopolitics and sanction evasion. And that's exactly what makes this story so fascinating. Thanks for tuning in to Kryna, where we explore the intersection of geopolitics, trade, and energy security. Join us next time for more insights into the complex world of global politics and economics.